to New Thought? 3. So 5. So it's wonderful to speak to the choir again. And to allow us to rejoice in the New Thought principles as a way of life, a way of being, a way of transforming ourselves as we continue to grow to be more, never less than our true self. As we think about or speak about the indigenous cultures, we're thinking about individuals who were the very first environmentalists, individuals who represent a way of living that, as Dr. Frank was already speaking about, that did live in harmony with the planet, lived in harmony with nature, did not see a sense of separation between them and Mother Earth, the flowers, the trees, the rivers, and all of life. And so in terms of reconciliation, in terms of New Thought, we're speaking about shifting our perception to embrace the consciousness of the original caretakers and that particular mode of being in the world, and doing what is necessary within the highly industrialized thought to make a shift so that more than mere apologies are given, that there's really a shift, a radical shift in our awareness and then in our actions. When we look at the way individuals have been displaced over a number of years through highly industrialized societies, they did not necessarily share or put into practice some of the things that we believe are practiced today. We speak about unity and oneness, and we speak about being at one with each other, that there's no separation, that there really isn't an other, that each and every individual that we see, whatever culture, whatever background, they are a dimension of our own life, so there's no separation. However, if that had been in effect, if that had been a spiritually realized state of being, certain decisions to displace people for economic reasons would not have even been made. If we had said to ourselves, if these individuals were our family, would we be treating them this way? If we were related to them, would we be treating them this way? So the New Thought principle of oneness and unity, when actualized, informs our decisions as to how we treat each other, how we treat so-called indigenous beings on the planet. Another New Thought principle is the plenitude or abundance. And oftentimes thought of greed and moving people around emanates from a sense of scarcity, of lack, and of limitation. And we absolutely are aware that we live in a field of plenitude. We live in a field of zero-point energy. We live in a field where energy is constantly transmuting itself but never runs out. If, in fact, we had that as a spiritual realization and acted from that, then the greed and the total non-caring of other individuals would not inform our decision. We would operate from a level of creativity. In other words, one of the main principles of New Thought, we mentioned this, embracing this evolutionary impulse that governs the universe. We embrace a new perception that allows new thought, that allows new experience to take place. One of the things that has not been utilized in terms of indigenous cultures is our imagination and creativity. They have been put to the side. Individuals have been operating from separation, operating from lack, and operating from a lack of creativity. Therefore, individuals have been displaced, misused, abused, and exploited. When individuals begin to live up to the true meaning of being a spiritual being, that is embracing this evolutionary impulse and beginning to speak creativity, speak so that creativity bursts forth in our awareness, we act differently on the planet and towards each other. And so in terms of reconciliation, we're talking about a deep and meaningful change in our consciousness, so that we're seeing the other, not as the other, as ourselves. We're speaking about living in a field of abundance, and we're speaking about creativity. Now, when we look at all the things that have occurred on our planet against individuals being displaced and being exploited, I'm brought to, and we talk about reconciliation, or how does good arise from that. I always think about Dr. Howard Washington Thurman, who I had the opportunity, when I was attending Morehouse College a number of years ago, one of the first lectures I attended in Graves Hall, not Graves Hall, and one of the, I don't remember the hall at this point, but one of the first lectures I heard was from Dr. Thurman. And the title of his talk was The Benefits of Slavery. Oh. And being a young 17-year-old revolutionary, I was a little I wasn't really ready to listen to this type of lecture. And so me and my cohort sat in about the 5th row right in the middle so we could challenge this old man into what he was about to tell us about the benefits of slavery. And as he walked up to the platform and received a rather long introduction, and he began to speak, and his cadence was slow but very powerful. And there was a silence and there was a power emanating from his being that at that time I really didn't know what I was witnessing or feeling, but it engaged me. And he began to speak about the slave trade. And he began to speak about these Africans being stolen from Africa and spread out around the world, ending up in West Indies, ending up in the United States, England, Jamaica, etc. And he began to speak about the African mindset of being this whole brain mindset that thought from a very creative space. And he began to talk about the fact that though slavery was a very nasty aspect of human history, that these individuals were placed all around the world, individuals that could think from the right side of the brain very naturally, individuals who had a natural sense of compassion and a deep sense of forgiveness, that at such a time, these qualities would be very necessary for the evolution of our species, so that slavery was a very nasty thing, that as we look forward into the evolution of our species, this mindset was scattered around the world, speaking to the fact that all things were working together for good, for this mindset of compassion, deep forgiveness, being able to think creatively, and be able to think from a sense of spontaneous goodness was now all around the planet. So as we as New Thought continue to do our spiritual mind treatment, our deep and abiding listening, seriously practicing these spiritual truths, we will mitigate the harm that has done on the planet for the indigenous cultures. We will make it into something good. Harvest the wonderful gifts and talents that were ready and already available through indigenous cultures, but allow that evolutionary impulse to spread it throughout the entire planet. We are here for such a moment as that.
Yes.
Peace and blessings.